Good morning. I'm Sarah, and it's time for Friday Fun Day. I hope you're ready for a really good time. Well, we're out here on my back deck. It rained all night, so it's a beautiful morning, and I thought it would be a perfect time to sit in front of my fountain and show you what we're going to make today. Unfortunately, the fountain is very loud. And so when we start our project, we'll head up to the yarn studio and work up there. All right, so before we get started on our project, we're going to take a quick walk through my container garden, catch you up on what's been going on there, and you may see some birds flying around. I had a fox out here earlier. I was trying to get a picture of it, but he was just too fast. My neighbor has chickens, and I think he was trying to get some of their chickens. Welcome to Friday Fun Day with Sarah. And what we're going to make today is a fall harvest bunting. And I've started this one. Move some things out of the way here. And this is what one of them that I started looks like. We're going to make 4 buntings or more and hook them together. Now I'm going to show you a demonstration with these bright fall colors though. Alright, but before we get started with that, all you're going to need is some medium weight number 4 yarn, any kind you've got in your stash, and an H hook, which is a 5.00 some birds over there, millimeter crochet hook, a needle for weaving in ends, and a pair of scissors. This is a great way to use up some of your yarn stash. It doesn't have to be in fall colors. It can be in any colors that you want. A bird just flew over my head. Alrighty, so anyway, I'm going to take you down, let you have a quick look at my garden, because this is the last one we're going to do on the garden, and then we'll head up to my yarn studio. Here is my cucumbers. And we've gotten lots of cucumbers off of there for lots of salads and pickles. Here's my strawberry plant. And I went ahead and let it do some shoots so I can have some of those and start some strawberry plants next year. My tomato plants have just gone crazy. They are huge. And we've gotten tons of tomatoes. My sunflowers were quite interesting this year. They had quite a bit of flowers, but look at all those petals on there. Isn't that interesting? All right, so now brings us around here to some of our flowers. And I love the flowers. They bring in so many beautiful bees. And I used to be afraid of bees. Now I understand their purpose and I love them. Now over here I have my lettuce, and you'll notice that they're starting to go to seed. And that's what you want them to do in order to repropagate your seeds. There's one there. And when they go to seeds, they flower, and then you can save those seeds and use them next year. And I do that with all of my flowers so that I can grow new flowers next year without having to buy seeds. And here's some more of my sunflowers. They got really huge this year. And then there's my squash. And one of the funny things that happened is, let me see if I can show you. Now here's one. My zucchini and my yellow crookneck cross-pollinated. They still tasted really good, but it was fun. All right, so over here is my hydrangeas, and I finally got some of them to flower. I'm very excited about that. All right, I'm gonna go around the other side. So what I'm talking about when I say save your seeds is like this one right here. These are the seeds inside. Oops, I moved that. There we go. These are all the seeds. And what I do is on all my plants, when they flower, I save the seeds, I dry them out, and I use them again next year. That way I don't have to keep buying seeds. I wanted you to see this hydrangea. Isn't that pretty? I was worried these plants had died, and I was able to save them. And you'll notice there's some more flowers in there, but I can save the seeds. Look at that big yellow marigold. All right, so here's my yellow crookneck over here. We've gotten lots of them on there. Unfortunately, the raccoons really like those as well, and so they've been eating those. They climb over this fence that's right behind there, that white picket fence, and they get my yellow crookneck squashes. I don't mind sharing with them. And then there's some more of my marigolds ready for seeds. This last spot over here is my working corner. And you know, you can see I've got lots of flowers. A lot of them are ready for seeds. I've got zinnias and marigolds over there. My compost buckets are there doing really well. But what I wanted to show you is my granddaughter and I decided to do an experiment with my apple tree. And we put 4 seeds from the apples in this pot. You can see there's 3 growing. And it's super fun. And you know, it takes about 10 to 12 years for you even actually get fruit off an apple tree. And I may not be able to eat off that apple tree someday, but my granddaughter might. And now we're going to go upstairs to the yarn studio and work on our Harvest Buntings. All right, let's get started with our Harvest Bunting. And a bunting is just anything you want to hook along a string and hang up for some sort of decoration. This particular bunting is so easy and so pretty. You can use it for any holiday and you can make it in any colors. This one is a cotton one that I got from Lion brand. The yarn, I can't remember the exact name of it. I don't have the paper anymore, but it's just a variegated yarn that has beiges and browns. I really love these colors. But for today's demonstration, we're going to be using some bright harvest colors. And I combined a variegated with a solid rust. And these are the same colors that I've used for some of my other projects this year. And we'll talk more about yarns in just a second. But what we're going to do is make a harvest bunting. And it's super easy, super pretty. And I think you're really going to find this a fun project. I like a project that I can work on, set aside, and maybe come back to it later. And that's how this one is. Now, I have only put 4 of the little bunting flags on here, but you can do as many as you want. I think this would look beautiful in Christmas colors, birthday colors. If you celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, this would be gorgeous for those holidays as well. Or maybe school colors if you're having a, say, a cheerleading party or a football party for your favorite team colors. You could whip these up in those colors, hang it up, and use it over and over again, unlike some of the ones we buy and throw away. All right, so each one of our little pennants or buntings measure about 5 by 5 inches. And so you can work on them, set them aside, and then when you have time, put them all together. Now, if you want the written pattern for this project, you're going to find the complete written pattern down in those notes in that description box underneath this video. So what you're going to need is any medium weight number 4 yarn, any fiber that you have on hand. You can use cotton, wool, alpaca, acrylic, or any of your blends will work just fine for this project as long as it's a medium weight number 4. Now, if you want them to be just a little bit smaller, you can use a light number 3. And if you want them to be a little bit bigger, you can always go up to a chunky number 5. For today's demonstration, we're going to be using medium weight number 4 acrylic yarn. This is the yarn that I used for this bunting. It's a cotton by Lion brand. I don't have the label anymore, so I don't actually know the exact name, but I know that it comes in lots of different shades and colors. I really love this cotton because it's a real soft cotton, but it's also really sturdy. And I really love the way this bunting turned out using this yarn. Now, we're going to just make a solid one in this rust color today to go with these that I have with the variegated, just so that you can see better what I'm doing. Sometimes working with variegated yarn, it's a little bit difficult to see. I'm also going to show you how to make the tassels. My grandmother always called them tassels. So if I accidentally call them tassels, just ignore me. She was a very proper lady and called them tassels. This ones are shorter. These are longer. Now you can adjust those by using a ruler to measure your wraps. And I really like this one. This is a Knitter's Pride. I've had it probably for 15 years. It's a great ruler and it has a magnifying glass on it. I use it almost every day. All right, we're going to stitch with our H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle to weave in your ends, and then of course you need a pair of scissors. If you're going to make your tassels, of course, make sure you have a nice sharp pair of scissors. All right, let's get started. We're going to begin with our slip knot. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, whoops. 4, 5. Put our tail of yarn over our hook and pull that through. And then we'll tie that stay knot. Now, if you prefer, you can do the magic circle here. I just prefer this method for this project. We're going to put our hook in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. Now we're going to stitch 3 double crochets in this chain 5 loop. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. Our chain 3 counts as 1, and so we have 4 double crochets. We're going to chain 2. You'll also notice that I'm stitching over this tail of yarn. Now we're going to stitch 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochets, chain 2, and then we'll do that one more time. 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 2. And so we have 3 sets of 4 double crochets. We're going to join to the chain 3 with the slip stitch. And now we're going to slip stitch over here to this chain 2. So we'll slip stitch in those next 3 double crochets. We'll slip stitch in the chain 2 space and chain 3. And it already sort of looks like a triangle, right? We'll turn it over, we'll pull that tail of yarn, and we'll go ahead and weave this in. Then we won't have to do it later. But if you want to do it later, that's totally fine. We just want to make sure there's no hole in the center. Clip that off, and now you can see the beginning of our little triangle. All right, let's do round 2. Now, if you're going to change colors on your rounds, make sure you change colors before you do your chain 3. All right, now we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. Our chain 3 counts as 1, and we're going to stitch 2 more. We're going to chain 2, and then stitch 3 more double crochets in this chain 2 space. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to chain 2 and hop over here to this chain 2 space and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and then hop on over here to this last chain 2 space and stitch 3 double crochets. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets. And chain 2. Now we're going to join to our chain 3 here. we're going to slip stitch in these 2 double crochets, and that brings us to our chain 2. Now, if you're going to change colors now and then do your chain 3. I'm not going to change colors. I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. And so for round 2, we have 3 corners of 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. All right, let's do round 3. Our chain 3 counts as our first, so we're going to stitch 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. We'll chain 2, and then we'll come over here to this next chain 2 space and just stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, and chain 2. All right, now we'll jump over here to this chain 2 and stitch 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. One, 2, 3. Chain 2, and then we'll stitch 3 double crochets in this next chain 2 space. Whoops, get back in there. There we go, and chain 2. So we have 2 corners done, and then we'll repeat this on this last side. I repeated that on that last side. I'm going to join to my chain 3, slip stitch in those 2 double crochets, and then slip stitch in the chain 2 space and chain 3. And so for row or round 3, we have our 3 corners of 3 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And then on the side, we have that chain 2, 3 double crochets in the chain 2 space, and chain 2. So we just crocheted a triangle granny. Now comes the fun part on row 4. We're going to make it have shell stitches. All right, now again, if you want your last row to be a different color, just make sure you add your color in before that chain 3. Now in this corner, we're going to stitch 4 more double crochets. Our chain 3 counts as 1, and we want a total of 5. Chain 3 counts as 1, and I stitched 1, 2, 3, 4, so we have 5. Now we're going to single crochet in the second double crochet of this next group, or shell. That's not a shell stitch, it's a cluster. And so we'll single crochet in the top of that second double crochet. Then we'll come to our next chain 2 space and stitch 5 double crochets for a shell stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll stitch a single crochet in the second double crochet of that cluster. Then we'll go to our next chain 2 space and stitch 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, we'll stitch a single crochet in the second double crochet of that next cluster. And see how that makes a pretty shell stitch pattern? I just love that. All right, now we're to the next corner, so we'll stitch 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet in the top of that second double crochet. And then we'll continue this all the way around, 5 double crochets in each of the chain 2 spaces and single crochet in the second double crochet of each of the clusters. I continued to stitch 5 double crochets in each of my chain 2 spaces with those single crochets in between in the second double crochet of those clusters. Here's my last 5 double crochets. I'll stitch my single crochet in that second stitch and then join to that chain 3, and we can cut this off. Go into the next stitch here and pull that loop to the back so it's nice and neat. And then I'll go ahead and weave this in. And once I get this all tidied up, I'm going to show you how to make the tassel, or the tassel. And then I'll show you how to hook it together into a nice bunting. So the pennant or bunting portion of our bunting is complete. Now we need to make a tassel. And what I like to do, this one is approximately 6 inches, and it has this little ridge, but you can use your hand and wrap it around, or you can use a piece of cardboard that's 6 inches long, or just something like this. And I like to use that edge and wrap it this way, and I do this about 10 or 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I make sure I cut it down here where this one is cut. Now, if you want a thicker tassel, just add more wraps. If you want it less thick, you can do less wraps. Now, you need a piece of yarn to tie it on with, and then you need another piece, and I cut these about 10 inches to stitch around, or to tie around. So you're going to need 2 separate pieces of yarn. All right, so we're going to take one of them and lay it out there. I'm going to take these off. Take this piece, put it inside, and just tie that. I do 1, 2, and then I do another knot like this where I wrap it around, and then I push that down as close as I can to the top of the tassel. So lay out your piece of yarn across, take your tassel and lay it across about 1 inch down, depending on how far down you want that tied. I like it about 1 inch. Then we'll tie that. And I give it a little bit of a pull because I don't want that to come undone. And then I just lay that down like that. I'm going to take one of my other ones like this so that I can make sure it's about the same before I cut it. And then I'll cut that. Looks pretty good. All right, so now we'll take our little bunting piece or pennant, and we'll go in that 3rd double crochet. We're going to pull it from the front, so I'm going to go from the back. I did that backwards. And we'll grab one of those pieces of yarn, and we're going to tie it to the back. And we're going to do that same sort of thing. We're going to put 1, 2, and then that, what I call a push down knot. I know it has a technical term. I just can never remember what it's called when I'm doing them. Okay, then we'll tie that as close as I can and snip, and that's the back. And now this is what the bunting looks like. So here are the 4 that I made. And this one is solid so that you could see, and I still like it. I'm going to mix it in and make a couple more solid ones so I can kind of do every other solid and make it longer. All right, so I'm going to start with 1. I'm going to take the yarn that I want to use to attach them to make the chain. Here's my slip knot, and I'm going to chain 20 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now, this is what I'll be attaching it on the side to something, depending on if I put it on a door or fireplace or something. And you may want this longer. That's up to you if you need more room to attach it. All right, so now we're going to take our first bunting. we're going to go to this first corner and we're going to attach it to the center double crochet. So that's the third one with a single crochet. So we'll stitch a single crochet and chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we'll go to the next shell stitch and single crochet in that third double crochet and chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we'll go to the next one and do the same thing. Single crochet in the third or center double crochet of that shell stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that brings us to our last shell stitch on the top. So we'll join with our single crochet. And now we're going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now that's the space that I'm putting between mine and my next pennant or bunting piece. If you want them to be farther apart, again, you can make this chain longer than 10. And then we'll do the same thing on this one we did on this one. Single crochet in that third double crochet of the first corner and chain 6. And we'll do this all the way across. There's my last corner. I'll stitch in that third double crochet, a single crochet, and chain 10. There we go. All right, so there's 2 of them hooked together. And I like doing it that way because it still shows the shell stitches on the top, but it's still attached and can be hung beautifully. All right, and so I'm going to continue with these next 2 and hook them together for a harvest colored bunting. So I've hooked these 4 together. I need to make another solid one though, because I want to actually put it in between these 2. But what I want to show you is when you do your last pennant or bunting, then you just chain 20 and you're done. And then cut off your yarn. I'm not going to cut this one off because I want to make another one this color to put in between these 2 and redo that. But when you're done, make sure you put a knot at the end of your chains that you're going to hang those with so that they don't come out. All right. And if you're going to use a hook or something, you can hook it right in that chain. And so that's how to make our harvest bunting. I just love these. Here's this other one that I made in the lighter colors. And depending on your preference, you can make these in any colors that you want to decorate for any holidays that you want to. As a matter of fact, I was eyeballing my Christmas sparkle yarns. I think I'm going to have to do some of those as well. All right, so that is our Harvest Bunting crochet project for today.
Well, the sun moved, so I'm at a little bit different angle from the time that we took to go upstairs to the yarn studio and do our project. The sun moved on me. Anyway, wasn't that lots of fun? It's a nice simple project that you can use up your yarn stash and just make some fun buntings to decorate. You can do these in Christmas colors, fall colors, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever colors to decorate for the holidays, or maybe just use them for birthday parties. They're a lot of fun to make and an easy way to use up your yarn stash. Now next Friday I have a really interesting and fun project for us to do. So what you're going to need for next Friday's project is an old sweater that maybe you're not going to wear anymore, because we're going to use the sleeves off the sweater. So if it has a hole, we can cut that off and you can still use that sweater. So if you don't have one, hit your local Goodwill or Salvation Army and find a sweater that you like. Make sure it has long sleeves, because we're going to use those long sleeves and make some fun things. We're going to just basically repurpose a sweater that maybe you can't wear anymore,
or maybe has a stain or something. So check your closet, check Goodwill, Salvation Army, or your thrift stores, and find a fabulous sweater that you don't want to wear anymore. We'll see you next week for Friday Fun Day with Sara.